Few bowlers in the world control the swinging ball better and to more devastating effect than James Anderson. So when he offered to show us how he does it, we packed our kit, including a slow-motion camera, and went to Loughborough to find out. Jimmy, can you believe that when you were playing club cricket at Burnley, you would end up leading England's Test attack?
Probably not. No, it seems a long time ago. You know, I remember when I first started playing as a sort of, you know, taking it more seriously as an 11, 12-year-old, doing a little bit of both, batting, bowling, not really impressing with either, to be honest. And then, you know, when I was 15 and started bowling a little bit quicker, I was really enjoying my cricket, but I never in a million years thought I'd be playing for England.
Was there a lot of thought that you put into your bowling back then, or was it a case of going back to your run-up and trying to hurl it down as fast as you can?
Pretty much hurl it as fast as I can.
Pretty basic.
Yeah, all the guys around me wanted to see me bowl quick, and they were encouraging me to bowl quick, so they'd say, just wang it down as fast as you can.
What point were you at then with your bowling when Lancashire took you on? Were you a fast-paced bowler, or were you already by then becoming a crafty swing bowler?
No, I started playing for Lancashire at 17, age group cricket, and again, I was just trying to bowl as quick as I could, and it wasn't until I signed my first professional contract and started working with Mike Watkinson, who was second team coach at Lancashire, when he decided to teach me how to swing the ball. And
what was the biggest thing that he showed you in that terms?
Well, a lot of it, the main thing is the grip.
Yeah.
And what you do, how you release the ball out of your hand. That was the two biggest points that he ever gave me.
So, as a Burnley lad, how would you have gripped the ball? Just with the seam up?
Yeah, I held it as straight as I possibly could. But that, you know, looking back, I remember it came out all different angles, and just didn't really know how it was coming out. And that's when you got a bit of seam movement, when it sort of these little.
Well, it's a wobble ball now, isn't it?
Well, yeah, exactly. But back then it was just potluck.
So what's the basic grip that you would use as an outswing? Because that was pretty much your stock in trade delivery when you first got into the Lancashire side, wasn't it?
Yeah. The basic grip is pretty simple. You point the seam slightly towards the slips, maybe third slip, and then your fingers go straight down it. It's a comfort thing more than anything. You've got to, at the end of your mark, you've got to be comfortable with how the ball's sitting in your hand. So I like to have one finger on this finger's the important one for me, for my outswinger.
Yep.
And that one just resting on top there. And then when I release the ball, I try and let this one come off last.
So that's the finger that is the last point of contact with the ball?
Yeah.
What about the thumb?
The thumb's just, again, sitting as comfortably as you can on the middle bit of the seam there.
And how far back in your hand do you have it? Is it right on the end of your fingers, or are you...
Again, it's a comfort thing. Some people have it really tightly in. I like to just let it sit sort of on the hinges of your fingers there, nice and comfortable.
Brilliant bowling from Anderson. When the ball swings, he is near unplayable.
So we got the basic away swing grip.
Yeah.
How do you mark out your run, and how far do you go?
Well, I'm quite old school when it comes to marking my run up. I've had this
no tape
measure. When I played club cricket at Burnley, we didn't have tape measures back then. So this is the way I've always marked my run up out. I don't know how I came about to decide on the length of it when I was, 15, 16, but I decided on 15 paces. I try and get my foot as in the middle of the crease as possible, so in between the two crease lines, and then I go for a big stride at the start, and then 13 paces in between. I've lost count already, but luckily I can see my mark in the distance. And then a big one at the end. And
right, so there's your mark. You've got the marker there and you've drawn a line with your spikes.
Yeah.
What foot starts? Does it matter? And are you hitting that mark or making sure you're behind it?
Generally try and hit it. If anything, I'm slightly behind it. But you always want to... I kind of walk onto my mark. Some people run onto it. But yeah, I just have a couple of paces into it to build some momentum, and then try and land with my left foot on the edge of the mark.
Right, you're at the top of your mark. We've got a right-handed batsman. You've got the breeze coming behind you, and you are running down the hill, as we've now agreed.
Yep.
What are you thinking at this point?
Look to bowl the ball pretty straight, hitting off stump, swinging away slightly from a right-hander.
See if he can do it. We've got James down there.
No pressure.
Who's in keeper? No pressure. Normally you play in front of 100,000 at the MCG. There's a man and his dog here at Loughborough. No pressure. Come on, land it and swing it.
All right.
What do you reckon? It swung?
Swung. Got a bit greedy.
Got a bit greedy early on.
Magic ball.
But that's the first thing. You must... All right, so it might have been clipped down a fine leg because it was a bit leg side, whatever, but you must there, point at a bowler, think, you beauty.
Yeah.
It swung.
Yeah, of course. That's the first thing you think about is, it gives you encouragement that it has swung. And then you can adjust your line from there and, yeah, make the necessary adjustments.
Show us the ball, because where did that hit? Show that.
I think it was a...
That's good though, isn't it?
Yeah, I'll take that, yeah, definitely. That's exactly where you want to be hitting the seam. But if you're trying to swing the ball, you want to hit directly on the seam, I think. Obviously, if you're trying to seam the ball, then maybe you want half and half, but for swing bowling, that's pretty
But
good.
let's just show, I mean, that is remarkable, right? That is a brand new ball. That was the first delivery that's ever been bowled, and that is pitched straight on the seam. Now, that just comes from craft, doesn't it? And practice and repetitive stuff.
Practice, yeah. I mean, when I first started, I was hitting all sorts of different places on the ball.
Scuffing it up.
Yeah, exactly, and annoying the other bowlers at the other end who was trying to swing it. But yeah, I mean, you kind of do drill work just off a few paces, trying to get that seam just perfect, and it can take a while to perfect it. But once you do, it's worth that time and effort, because once you do, you get some great results.
When you got into your delivery stride,
Yeah.
are you thinking at any stage about your wrist position, or is that all just happening?
Yeah, now that's just happening. I'm not thinking about...
So it's left the fingers, left that one?
If anything, I think about the finger. Think about really... Because what I do with this finger is I try and push the ball into the stumps, and then if it comes out like that into the stumps, then it generally swings away much later. And that's obviously when you get the edges.
Are you walking back now thinking, right, great, it swung,
Yeah.
but line wrong?
Yeah, I've just apologised to Matt for having to make a diving stop down the leg side.
No, you got clipped for one down to fine leg. We're still in that as well. So, right-handed batsman again,
Yeah.
you've seen the ball swing, but you got your line wrong.
Yeah.
Are you doing anything different at this point?
No, maybe just when I have a look up at the pitch, I'll be looking. I'll have analysed what I did wrong in the last ball in the walk back to my mark, and once I turn round, look down the pitch, I'm looking at where I want the next ball to go and where I think I need to start the ball.
Let's go.
Okay.
Okay, adjust that line. Beautiful. So we've all gone, yeah, that's great. Nice and full as well. What about the length of that?
Yeah, it might have been a touch full, but because it swung late, that
Yeah.
might have encouraged a drive from the batter, and you never know, it might get an edge. If he's a good batsman, then he might get some runs for that, but that's a risk you want to take with a new ball. You want to encourage the shots, because that's when you get the edges to slip.
So you're always thinking about those. So the first delivery, line probably slightly wrong, but it swung.
Yeah.
Second delivery, you've adjusted the line and it swung, nice and full, trying to get the batsman playing.
Yeah.
Are you now walking back, assessing the length that you just
Yep.
bowled as well?
Yeah, so now I've got the line right. As I'm walking back, I'll be thinking, is it a little bit full? I might even chat to mid-off and just say, is that maybe a yard full? Do I need to drag that length back a little bit? And then they'll get their opinion as well if I'm not confident of my own decision.
What about the keeper? Does Matt Pryor or Keysveld or someone like that have a say in the length? And
Yeah, definitely. Matt is someone I talk to a lot. The keeper is someone that bowlers should talk to a lot, because they've got the best view of everything that's going on. And generally at the end of an over, I'll say, what do you think about that? And he'll give his opinions on it. Were we too short? Were we too full? Whatever, things like that.
so look at that ball again. Look at this. Not a blemish.
2 and 2 on the
2 and
seam.
2.
Yeah, take
Right.
that.
Right, so right-handers are up there. You got the ball swinging away. You're on a good line and length. Are you now just going to be boring? That's your line and length, and you stay with it.
Yeah, if it's swinging as much as we've just seen, I think I'd stay there, unless certainly for the first 2-3 overs maybe, and then the only thing that would make me change what I'm doing is if the batsman's looking comfortable, and I just want to maybe change things up a little bit.
So what are your options there?
The options are in-swinger.
Yep.
Another option is, for me, if I'm swinging the ball, I don't, if the best way to play it as a batter is to get as far forward as you can and get into it and play it and play it late. So the bouncer is a really good option for me. First, it just doesn't doesn't let them get used to the ball being on the same length. It just puts it in their head that actually, every ball's not going to be on that same spot. So those are my two main options.
So what would your first port of call, though? Would it be the in-swinger or the bouncer on this surface, bearing in mind there's not a lot of pace in it?
Yeah, I think so. I think the in-swinger is probably would be my go-to ball, because then the in-swinger for me, you're not always trying to get a wicket with it, though.
Right.
It's just putting it in the batter's head that you've got it.
Okay.
So you might only bowl it once, but then
They know.
they know, yeah, is it going to be the in-swinger? And if they can't pick it, if they don't know which way it's going to go, then it's harder to play the outswinger, which is my strength.
Bowled in! What a ball from Anderson!
Right, so what's the grip?
Well, take this as a shiny side. We're pointing it towards the slips for the outswinger. So turn the ball round, tilt it towards fine leg, fingers go across the ball, and then this time it's the middle finger that I look to leave the ball last.
So is
Push it in with
that
that.
finger for the outswinger?
Yeah.
That finger now for the in-swinger. You flipped it round and changed the same position.
Yeah.
Does the wrist position change?
No, not for me. You can, I think it naturally changes anyway because you're trying to push the ball in.
Right.
So I don't really think about changing it because I know that it'll just happen.
Right, back we go. Have you changed the field?
No.
No. So everything visually this way,
Yeah.
exactly the same.
Exactly the same. You've still got the slips in. The only thing I don't want to do is get too straight.
Right.
Because if you bowl it too straight, it's an easy clip. You've just released all the pressure that you've created with the first few balls.
Captain kicks the turf and all that.
Exactly. And goodness knows what you guys are saying up in the commentary box. So I'd look to start it, for my first in-swinger of the game, I'd definitely start it wide of, wider of off stump than I probably normally would.
Margin of error.
Yeah.
Amazing stuff. That's high class. That's craft. And you could feel that coming off that finger?
Yeah. I could feel it came out well. Came out perfectly, actually.
Let's check this again.
It might have hit yeah.
Well, that was the one, wasn't it? Because that was
Yeah.
the over swinger. Very impressive.
No.
So you've shown him now.
Yeah.
Now what do you do?
Well, obviously it depends how he plays it. If he's left it and it's inches away from the off
Yeah.
stump, there'll be a big ooze from the slips, and then you generally go back to bowling, boring outswing, because he's obviously not picked the in-swinger,
Yeah.
so he's not sure about what's coming down, and
Yeah.
I think that brings the outside edge more into play for your outswinger.
Do you change your action at all for the in and the outswinger?
No.
You mentioned it coming off different fingers.
Yeah, my action stays the same. I think, or as similar as I can possibly keep it. I don't change it on purpose, and I think that helps with deceiving the batsman as well. Because if you make an obvious change,
Yeah.
then the batsman can pick that up.
Edged. Anderson, the man.
The wobble ball.
Mm-hmm.
What is it and what is it used for?
Before we went to the Ashes in 2010, talking about the Kookaburra ball, I knew it swung, but it generally swings for maybe, you might get 10 overs out of a new Kookaburra. So I wanted a plan B and something to help me after that period of time. And I remember seeing Stuart Clark in 2006-07 in Australia using this ball that the seam was all sort of wobbly and not straight, not perfectly straight, but it sort of nipped off the seam. And then I saw Mohammed Asif from Pakistan using it when we played against him in 2010. So I just tried to develop it during that summer of 2010 to be able to go away and have something that I can fall back on if the ball doesn't swing.
And what are you trying to get out of it? Because when I hear about seam bowling,
Yeah.
I sort of, the basic premise being the seam would go down the pitch like that and hit the seam, might go either way. You're not trying to get it perfectly upright.
No. Well, basically, what I'm trying to do is, so if you imagine the ball coming down like that, the seam sort of wobbling. And what I want to do is try and hit the corner of the seam. So you want to try and hit half and half ball, half seam.
Right.
And that's when you get that sideways movement. So it might hit one side of the seam and go one way, or it might hit the other side and seam the other way. I don't know, and certainly the batsman's not going to know.
So
either.
you don't know which way it's going to
No.
go, but he won't, obviously, because you don't know.
Yeah, but all I'm trying to do is I'm trying to bowl, even if it doesn't seam, I'm trying to hit a good length, hit the top of off stump. If it seems either way, then brilliant, but that's not really the purpose of doing it. It's more just to, I use it when we need to dry up runs or just contain for a bit, and then I can just bowl nice and straight on a good length.
What's the grip?
The grip is simply from an outswinging. I use an outswinging normal grip there, and I just go slightly wider so that my fingers are actually on the surface of the ball and not the seam. And the main thing with this is I don't try and, whereas when you're trying to swing the ball, you try and cock your wrist and then release the ball like that off, and then get the backward rotation on the ball. With this, I'm not trying to cock my wrist as much, and I'm not trying to pull back on the ball as much, get that backward motion. I'm trying to just release it as simply as possible, and that's when it kind of gets that wobble effect. Your modal dismissal would be probably a nick or an LBW.
So attacking either edge of the bat?
Yeah. Like I said, the length's the most important thing. Trying to drag the batsman forward slightly and make him play a false shot.
Right, show us one.
Do my best.
And will they, I mean, is this like a spell of wobble? Or
Well,
is it just, you know, every now and again you'll throw one in?
You can bowl it whenever you want, really. I've sometimes, since I've been confident bowling it, I've sometimes bowled it with a new ball, and then but then you've still got, you can go back to its a normal swing, an outswinger. So the batsman thinks it's not swinging, it's just coming gun barrel straight, and then you shove the outswinger in there, and it's just something different.
It's all about deception, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Right, show us how you do it then. Yeah? Perfect.
Yeah. I'm not sure it's done much, but the line and length is pretty much where I want to be. Just if the batsman's good enough, he'll have left it. If not, early in his innings, he might have just had a nibble at that. So the line's a good one.
Is that where you become now with a wobble ball? Say you're bowling a spell of wobble like Sri Lanka where it's not swinging. You now, James Anderson, the seam bowler almost, as opposed to James Anderson, the swing bowler.
Yeah, I'd say so, yeah.
Is that a different mindset?
Yeah, it's probably a less attacking mindset. So when it's swinging, you're always in the game. You can throw a real full ball. Yeah, exactly. And you're kind of showing off your skills. But when you're bowling a spell of just wobbling it.
You become like Angus Fraser, dull.
Well, yeah. Hopefully not as dour as him, but no, you're just being more patient, being more controlled, and you just probably more boring in a way. But that's if you're playing in a subcontinent or on a slow, flat pitch, then that's what you need to do.
Where's that pitch, do we reckon?
I reckon it's so you've got just on the mainly ball, but. Yeah, it's mainly ball, but you have got some of the seam, and that's the idea, is to hit because it's so pronounced, this seam.
Yeah.
You're trying to hit the corner of it to get the jag.
So let's get this straight. This is all the deliveries that were the swinging balls, whether they're in or out, landing, because the seam is going down the wicket straight like that. You've now decided to hit just a bit of ball and a bit of seam. You've made that decision. He's delivered it there, look, with a little bit of seam. So that's perfect.
The other bonus to doing this is we'd maybe look to do this in the subcontinent, because then you see how abrasive this pitch is here. Imagine in the subcontinent that's going to take a big chunk out of that ball, and then it helps reverse for later in the innings.
In part 2 of this bowling masterclass, we'll see how James Anderson makes use of the older ball as he shows us the variations he can call on when the ball isn't swinging.